we can get involved and make a difference. Thank you. Robert?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here today. Let me see. So, wonderful. Yeah, so first of all, I wanted to say again, thanks for the chance to brief the community here. Swing Left Tri-Valley focuses on voter outreach. So this is about how do we get in touch with potential and likely voters, and how do we convince them to turn out to vote. And this occurs in elections all up and down the ballot and all across the country, is what we'll be talking about here. I wanted to note a thank you to our team, and we have an extended team that bridges across many groups in the Tri-Valley. In particular, Kyoko is one of our lead strategists. She was just recently briefing this to the Indivisible Tri-Valley group. So we picked those slides up at the request of Livermore Indivisible, cleaned up the messaging with the latest updates that I'll be sharing in just a moment. And so what you're seeing is our latest thinking about where we stand, about what races we're focused on, and where we could use your help. So first, as I mentioned, talk about the election landscape. I'll talk about which races that our particular group in the Tri-Valley tends to be routed towards. Talk about how we do that. So how do we get in touch with voters, and how do we change their minds and get them encouraged enough to turn out to vote? And finally, we'll talk about some experiences in actually going out and canvassing from our expert volunteers here. So let's look at the overall election landscape. So first of all, the Senate is in play. This was not the case a while back, but thanks to the insanity of the present, the Democrat plus 10 state condition across the country here, we're actually looking at the potential ability to take the Senate. There are a number of seats in play here. You're looking at some of the red-blue seats with targets about which ones we need to hold, which ones we want to flip, and which ones are the new reach targets. But this is changing all the time, and generally in a good way these days. So we're looking at more and more opportunities for being able to flip races. I'll talk about a little bit more here in a moment, but I want to focus you on North Carolina. That's the one that our group is looking at as an achievable target, and one that we actually have connections, we have tight connections with the groups that are in play in North Carolina, so we can make sure we're not just parachuting in and doing something that's useless. We're supporting the efforts for those local groups to make sure they are engaging potential voters in that area that will have a substantial turnout, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Next, the House. The House, of course, has a massive number of races, and compared to the Senate, Senate's every 6 years, the House is essentially constantly. So what we have is a much larger landscape of races that are in play. In particular, look at California here. We have 2 that we want to maintain and 2 that we want to flip. In particular, I'll call out CA 13, our neighbor district. That is one that we are trying to make sure that we do not lose in this midterm. And then CA 22, which is Randy Villegas, that we want to try to flip from red to blue. Those are going to be the key races that I'll be talking about here for the canvassing and the more local regional efforts. Of course, there are many other races, and again, this is a constantly changing landscape as various members of the House step down, scandal engulfs another member, that changes a race. Things are constantly changing, but in general, this is a landscape that's looking increasingly good for us. But Swing and Left Tri-Valley, the Tri-Valley cannot play in all 400 races, right? So we have to choose which ones we engage in, and that tends to be the local California races here. The elections continue on down from the federal level down to the state level, and we've identified some of the key races that Swing Left is looking at across the governor to Senate, to the state Senate, to the state House. And I bring these up not specifically because these in particular drive the volunteer turnout, but the fact is these are all connected. Is that when voters turn out to vote for a national level candidate, they also vote for the state level candidates. And that matters, because then that gives us the opportunity, in particular with a Democrat plus 10 environment now, to start to potentially get some trifectas in the states. And that ensures then that gerrymandering can be fixed. That ensures that we can put a fair state Supreme Court in place. All kinds of changes that really start to matter then in the long run. can be ensured by making sure that we have some level of control, that Democrats have some level of control in the state races. Now, this goes all the way down to even the town, right? It doesn't end at the state level. It is important that we get candidates also on the city board, the school board. All of these levels are important, and they, again, as I mentioned, when voters turn out to vote for national candidates, they also vote for the local candidates too, if they can understand who these candidates are. So this is something that we look at our group, is how can we support some of the races that are going on locally, so that we are ensuring we're getting a good queue of a pipeline, if you will, of candidates that are moving on through the important decision-making roles within the community here. Now, how are things looking overall? Well, the latest estimates suggest that we stand about a 90% chance of taking the House. So, and that's not just by a little bit. If you look at the center of the chart, that's a win by about 20 to 30 seats net positive, with some of the wings going up to 40 plus seats. So this is a generational level shift that's consistent with probably the swing back around FDR in terms of the amount of swing that we might be able to see in the House here. That is a good sign, but that's not all of it. You know, we don't want to just take the House. We want to actually be able to ensure that not just putting the brakes on things, but actually some positive work can be done. So the question is, can you take the Senate too? Can we win the Senate? That's right on the razor edge. Now, it's leaning Democrat right now, but that means that, you know, what is it, 3 months now is an eternity in politics, right? So anything can change. However, the trends are all in our direction these days, as it's as if the administration is in support of our approach here, trying to flip the Senate. So yeah, we're all marching together on that. So it looks as, you know, with each week, polling numbers suggest an increased likelihood of Democrats taking the Senate. With every new change that comes in the for instance, the Alaskan candidates, the various Senate candidates, including the North Carolina candidate that we're supporting, we're looking like we might be able to get a majority. So that would mean too, you know, we can't take the presidency in the midterm year, but Senate and House would be quite a shift. So that's the goal. You know, what are we trying to do? We're trying to take back some level of control of the government, trying to get some level of stability and sanity put back into the operation of this country. Okay, so how does the Tri-Valley and how does Swing Left do this? First of all, we don't do it alone. We do this with a set of groups here. First group here spans the Bay Area. The Bay Area is a powerhouse of not economic, I guess that's true too, but of political outreach. There's 60 plus Bay Area volunteer groups that have coordinated together under the Bay Area Coalition. And they work together to route volunteers not to a million different events, but rather to a selected limited number of events that can be well staffed and well organized. And that's the ones we send volunteers out to. So you know that if you're working with Swing Left Tri-Valley, you're actually working with some 20 to 30 million people split across the entire Bay Area that are coming together in progressive groups, 60 plus progressive groups, tens of thousands of volunteers that are then down selecting to available groups. This is a large and dedicated community here that is turning out volunteers and buses and stipends for volunteers to do long-term canvassing over whole weekends, all well organized and coordinated. This is a fantastic machine and organization that we're part of. Secondly, States Win. This is a cross-state boundary group that identifies partnerships between states that have volunteers that can lean into various efforts and states that have key efforts that need focus from, that there's just not enough local manpower to support. So States Win tries to pair them up. That's where the former sister district term came from, is find partner districts. One can help the other and vice versa at various times. This has grown to become States Win now, and this targets, again, at the state level, Arizona and Nevada, to help us start to regain some Democratic trifectas in the states. And finally then, at the lowest level, at the voter level, we engage with Reclaim Our Vote, which is a fabulous campaign that's been established in the South that helps identify disenfranchised voters voters who live outside of the urban areas, voters who don't have the information that they need in order to register and connect. But these are voters that are not deliberately choosing to do that, but ones who don't necessarily have the alignment that the information about where's the polling, what's the latest information, have they been removed from the voter rolls. We get them in touch with them through postcards and calling, and they have an extraordinary turnout percentage because of this. They've been able to target which voters want to vote but can't because they're lacking information. So it's not people who say, don't talk to me. It's people who say, thank you for this. And so Reclaim Our Vote has had a decisive impact here on turning the Southern vote. So I'll talk about what percentages that we've been looking at for in general for postcarding, and then what Reclaim Our Vote has been able to do in a moment. But those are the three levels that you'll see coming and going in the various focus areas that I'll be talking about. So the first race that we're looking at is the U.S. Senate for North Carolina. So we are looking at a lean Democratic race, and this is one where we are supporting with phone banking and postcarding. Of course, no one's going out to canvass in North Carolina, unsurprisingly, from here. But we can still make a difference with the Reclaim Our Vote campaign because they know how to micro-target. They know how to specifically target key areas that are not getting a good turnout of voters that would normally want to do that would want to be engaged. Okay, so here's where we're helping at the state level. At the House District level, we are protecting CA13, keeping that blue. So this is canvassing because that's just over the hills. This is one in which the Tri-Valley is uniquely well situated to support the CA13 effort through face-to-face contact. And this is what we'll be talking about just a moment. As soon as I finish rambling here, we'll talk about the exact, the actual experience of going out there and what that means. If you say, geez, I don't know should I do canvassing? What is that? What does it mean to canvass? Do I knock on doors and people yell at me to go away? We'll tell you about what that's actually like here. And it's not that, thank you. So this is where we can help with face-to-face contacts. Then I should say, even closer to home, there's our own district. Right? We have there's a national push down to our district to help support Aisha with neighbor-to-neighbor canvassing efforts, as well as we've got some tabling efforts that are going on. So there's work within our own district right now that we put out information on. And finally, one of our reach efforts here is how can we help the whole Bay Area Coalition to push for a flip for CA22. This is both a canvassing and a phone banking effort. These are in-person canvassing trips, like I mentioned. This is an extremely well-organized group, so you'd be merging in with volunteers coming from across the Bay Area who are then heading out to do a solid weekend of canvassing work. Okay, and it is presently rated as a toss-up, but again, the political winds keep blowing stronger and stronger Democrat, and the volunteer turnout is incredible. So it looks like not only can volunteers typically shift things like this by a percentage point or two, but then we're sitting on top of a +10 Democratic wave here. That's a pretty good set of numbers. Okay, so how do we specifically on action by action make changes? So there are three ways to do this. How do we change hearts and minds to make sure people turn out to vote, and then we can help turn elections in the direction of trying to help save the country here. First, canvassing. The highest turnout, 7 to 9%. Now, it's going to be the lowest number of contacts that you'll make. So you'll walk around for a long time, you'll knock on a door, it won't be anyone there, you'll finally make contact. But when you make contact, those engagements are among the most rewarding. They're the most durable, and they're the most engaged that you'll get the potential voter. You can listen to what their concerns are, feed that back into the community organization, and then you can get those voters, those potential voters, the information they need, as well as the connections they need so that they feel like someone cares about their vote. That's why it matters. So even though the raw number of contacts you might make in canvassing is lower, the hit rate is so much higher that it still has a very strong impact. So that's to say, this will shift if you talk to 100 voters, this will shift 7 to 9 of those voters to turn out to vote. Right? That's an astounding amount, considering that's essentially the entirety of the Democratic wave right there, if we could talk to every voter across the country. Phone banking is lower, but the volume is much higher. Right? It's very difficult to get in touch with people over the phone anyways today. And then to also get through to them, to get them to think about a little bit more about them, right where they are at that moment, to think, do I have what I need in order to go vote? Right? That's the challenge, but that's what phone banking tries to get through to people. And we have great volunteers throughout the Tri-Valley that support this through the Bay Area Coalition phone banking efforts. And so there's seasoned volunteers that can route folks into this process, teach you how to have these conversations and how to do so in a respectful way that leaves you happy to have made contact with the potential voters. Finally, there's postcarding, which is by far the easiest way to do this because it's a non-contact way, but it again tends to have about the lowest hit rate because people are separated. There's not the human contact element. However, when we talk about things like the Reclaim Our Vote postcarding, those numbers, I've heard numbers that are upwards of 5 to 10% on Reclaim Our Vote postcarding. It's just astounding. So they indeed do have a different way of attacking this. That's why we've been so pleased to work with them over the last, it might now be like 5 years or so, where we channel a lot of our efforts into the Reclaim Our Vote campaigns that are running in the South. We collaborate with a number of groups across the Tri-Valley in this sort of mode, is we're trying to get out the word about what are ways to engage in the elections, push those out to the volunteers and other groups. So when you say, oh wow, the midterms are coming up, what should our group be doing about that? We have an answer for you. All right? This is not about peeling volunteers off from other groups, this is just about providing opportunities for voter engagement specifically, so that we then don't have a million groups doing a million different things. And the worst thing you can do is try to set up, for instance, your own canvas in a swing district. You show up in a town, you try to talk to some people, you do make some contacts, and then who do you report it to? You have no idea what's going on. That was what happened right at the start of all the resistance groups in about 2018. And there were groups canvassing in CA13 that had no contact with each other, no coordination, and it was a mess. And so rapidly it all got coordinated back underneath the local, the Tracy Grassroots Organization effort, and then got moved into this Bay Area Coalition effort. So now whenever people want to volunteer, you go into that alignment, and then it becomes very clean. You show up at the event, they've got all the package for you, they've got the route you're supposed to walk, and they know how to route the information back into the local Democratic groups. So when voters say, yeah, I'd be interested in talking with some local Democrats, they do have someone to call up and follow up afterwards. All right, that's day and night difference. And that's why we try to be the conduit to get the Tri-Valley linked into all those efforts that are going on. So as I mentioned, canvassing is key. Even with all the changes that have been going on in California about trying to increase voter turnout, the Prop 50 excitement, even with that, voter turnout was low in the Central Valley, and it's always been low. And we'd love to see 70–80%, right? But let's be realistic. It's not a primary election, so it means that the biggest thing we can do to swing an election is just get voters turned out. It's not necessarily arguing with Republicans. It's just about turning out people who don't think their vote matters. So how can you help? If you're looking to help here, we'll talk about canvassing in just a moment, about the details on it. We're leads for the Patterson canvass, that's the top. But as you can see, there's a lot of other canvassing going on with the Bay Area Coalition. They're pushing out canvases all across these the districts, CA13, CA22. So if you're at all interested, there are times and places throughout the weeks coming up all the way to November 3rd. Phone banks, as I mentioned, slightly lower hit rates, however much more convenient because you don't have to drive for the whole weekend. So if you can do this but not canvassing, this is much better than nothing, right? And that is Bay Area Coalition. Phone banks then are very effective. They've got this as a well-oiled machine, lets you call people for a few hours, or an hour or so is whatever you have available. They occur in 2-hour shifts there, and that makes contact with volunteers, with potential voters, and gets them routed into a system to see if they need information to help register to vote. Postcarding, as I mentioned then, is by far the easiest way to engage, and it's something you can do in your spare time in the evenings, and it's very low stress, simple. And it does have a good engagement rate, and when we work with Reclaim Our Vote, we've had extraordinarily good returns off that. So this works. And there are something like, I want to say there's like 460,000 addresses that were established as part of the campaign. We're at about 80-ish% claimed, so about 20% left to go. So anyone who wants to write 100,000 postcards, just let us know. But no, we've got people all across the Tri-Valley who are just pulling postcards in batches of say 100 or so. So they just melt away. It's amazing. Our group turns out a massive fun. In fact, one of the biggest groups that does this is the Unitarian Universalists. They were ranked up with one of the top groups in California for the sheer number of postcard outreaches that they've done. Okay, and behind the scenes, we're trying to make sure we get a smooth organization for flowing volunteers to where they can help. So if you're interested in helping, but can do back-end work, organization, making sure that events are posted, that volunteers get the answers that they need, we're always looking for more assistance on this end. So let us know, let me know, let the Livermore Indivisible team know, and we'll route people to how they can help with canvassing, phone banking, postcarding. We've got a postcarding team that gets the postcards out to the people's doorstep. When they request a pack of 100, someone's got to drive them over and get them to that person. Right? There's a whole organization that's rolling and can always use more volunteers. Okay, and this is pass off to Isabel, who will speak about the actual experience of Panas and canvassing. Yep, and that's the end. Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabel Gomez and I am a volunteer with Swing Left Tri-Valley and I'm also an Indivisible Tri-Valley member. I'm going to tell you about my particular experience going to campus in Patterson in the Central Valley. I started in 2024 when I came to one of these Livermore Indivisible events, and I was talking to Kyoko, and she said, well, we could use a few Spanish-speaking volunteers to go to the Central Valley, which I have never done canvassing, and I didn't know anything about canvassing, but sure could be Spanish, so I said, okay, I'll try. So next time I went, I drove with them to Patterson. It's about 1 hour drive from here, from Livermore. And after a brief training, where they teach you how to speak to the voters, the message for the day, go over the script, and also they teach you the mobile application, which is the voter outreach application that you have in your mobile and in your cell phone. They paired me with two very experienced canvassers, Karen Jefferson and Marla Kiwi, and off we went. And well, first of all, Spanish is not necessary. A lot of people in the Central Valley speak Spanish, but the ones who speak Spanish also speak English perfectly. And only once in a while you might run into some very elderly person who only speaks Spanish, but not, as I said, not necessary. Of all the voter outreach tactics that Bob told you about, not indoors is my favorite, by far, because of the human connection, because of the face-to-face interaction. And not only that, but you can immediately see the impact. You don't have to wait for the polls, you see it in real life. One of the things that I like besides that is that most people are very friendly. The ones who are our supporters, they even thank us for doing this work with them, for being out there helping elect Democrats, and that is in itself rewarding. At the same time, we have to be realistic. Of all the doors that we knock, you will speak to 10 to 20%, and out of that 10 to 20%, you might get 1 or 2 people to commit. But this is not something to get discouraged, because, as this has been said already today, those numbers might very perfectly be the difference on election day between winning and losing the election. And another thing that I want to tell you is that eventually you will run into some house where there are Republicans, people who are opposed to your candidate, even people who might be having a bad day, but you don't have to engage in conversation with those. You just say goodbye, have a nice day if you feel like it, check it off, and keep going. And another concern that I heard from people, and I was one of them, is that I'm not perfect. I might not have the right answer. I might not know enough about policy, not even all the positions of the candidate. But again, there is nothing wrong with saying, this is my first day, I'm new at this, or we're not professionals, we are volunteers, and we do this because we really believe in the cause, and that is actually a powerful message for the voters. And we are actually, if in the very rare case that you have somebody who really knows everything about policy and everything about the candidate, we don't have the answer, we always give them and encourage them to call Alan Gray, who is our candidate. We carry it, we have notes with his phone number, give it to the voter and tell them, call him, please. Call him and tell him yourself what you think about this. And finally, actually, the real challenge is not that. The real challenge is to engage the people in conversation, because many of them are busy, they don't have time to follow the news like all of you here. They might not even know who Alan Gray is. So that is the real challenge. And the only more things that I have to tell you that our next canvassing session is next Saturday, 22nd. We will carpool from Livermore. We will drive for about an hour, and then canvass for a couple of hours. After that, we'll have lunch at a very cool cafe in Patterson. Adam Gray invites, so and you get to share the canvassing experience of the day with the other cool canvassers, and that's how I met Marla and Karen. And so join us if you like. And thank you.
Okay, questions? Okay. Oh yeah. We are going to be having postcarding available for everyone who's interested in the back. There's a QR code, or you can talk to Helen back there, because all of the things that Robert talked about, we will be making it available to all of our members to do. All right? Thank you. So do our announcements?
Oh, no, questions for these
Oh,
guys?
questions for Robert
Yeah.
or Isabel?
Well, okay, I have 5 people in between my
I'm sorry, can you just hang on a minute?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're making a video, so if you don't use this, no one will hear you.
Video, I'm gonna be on video.
No, no.
Your voice.
Yeah, your voice.
Okay, I have 5 people in between my family and my husband's who are Trumpers. And not just Republicans.
Yep.
They're Trumpers. And in canvassing, I think, oh my gosh, I can't get through to these 5 people, let alone, people that I don't know. And I would love to find I'd like to know if there is a way to have a decent conversation with a family member, where I've been just saying, I'm not going there. I'm not gonna discuss that with you. Because I said, we're family. I don't want bad feelings and whatever, so I don't know. That scares me.
Yeah, this is a great question. So first of all, I want to say, reclaiming the House, reclaiming the Senate is going to be a tall order. Trying to change your family's mind, that might be an impossible order. That is not a trivial challenge. To convince someone who is mentally and philosophically opposed to you, because they're not. Neither side is fine. You need to find a point of common ground engagement before the walls start to come down and people can start to grow that engagement out. And if you can't even start with engagement, then the person is completely blocked off from hearing any of the facts. Like, you could tell them the truth, and they'll just say, no, I don't trust that person, they'll reject it. So there is not necessarily a surefire way to just get through and change the minds of all the people. But that's not what we're talking about here, because that could be impossible, right? We live that. Everyone has family members that you just can't agree with. So going out and swinging. Swing left is not about mind control. This is not about solving that nearly impossible problem. Rather, what we do is we find the voters that are already voting Democrat, that just haven't been consistent voters. So the voters, so when you're going up and knocking the door, they're not saying, I'm MAGA. They're saying, geez, I voted like 2 elections ago. I just lost, I don't know if I'm registered anymore, and I've got a young kid, and I don't have time to deal with this. I just saw the paperwork here, and I'm just exhausted. And like, who even cares? I know we're losing or something. And you say, no, we're not. As in, you know, this matters by votes. Your vote could be what makes the difference between your kid's school district getting enough funding to actually have a good education now. And it's this easy. Here's a link that'll let you get it all solved quickly. And that's the push. Somebody cares, and here's the information. So it's not about convincing your cousin, your in-laws, to completely change their mind. It's about giving somebody else hope that their vote matters, and that it will do something, and that somebody cares that they vote. And that's so much easier.
I didn't know it was to people you'd already recognized as.
Correct. We have the voting rolls that say these are infrequent. So when we're looking at like 17 to 25% voter turnout, I got 83% of the population to go check in on, and half of them are Democrats. That's a huge number of people. We could spend, we could canvass for hundreds of thousands of people, and if we turn out even a few percent more, that's the election.
I've got 2 questions. My first question is, how do you measure the effectiveness of a postcard? How do you know whether you're really moving the needle, whether that person that you sent a postcard actually goes to the polls? And my second question is, polling data from everything that I've read lately is not reliable,
Yeah.
and it's getting worse. And so I'm wondering, how do we know that the information that we're getting, that we are making a difference? How do we know that that's accurate?
Great. Okay, so I'll hit first question first. How do you measure this? Now, I am not a statistician, so you don't trust what I say fully. Okay, just want to put that out. From what I've read and what's going on, they run blind tests on this. They'll run certain sections that will be given different messages, and certain areas will not be given any message, and they'll check the voting turnout after the various midterm. I mean, the postcarding effort's been going on for 6-8 years now or so, and so more than that, exactly. In scale, it's been going on, and the question is, how do you measure how it's been going on, how it's been working, is extremely important to these groups, and they're doing all kinds of experiments here to test, can they change the percentages from historical returns. So now, things change. There was COVID, that changes percentages, so it's been difficult to tease that out, and that's why there's an uncertainty bound in this, but the groups, we have 20 million, 40 million postcards that are going out. It's enough to start collecting some fairly good statistical data if you can tease it out. But again, I can't speak to all the details of that. And your second question, remind me of that second question. Sorry, got myself lost.
Reliability polling data.
Reliability polling, yeah, okay. So I can answer that in a quick, in like 2 words, special elections. So just ignore the polling. Special elections, how have we been doing in the last year for special elections? We have been crushing it. I mean, did you know that in the South, one of the districts swung from Trump to Democrats by 37 points? 37, not 3, 37 points. Okay, the overall average in special elections is like 10 to 20 points. So it doesn't matter what the polls say. When people turn out for the special elections, we are annihilating these prior trends. And that's what's holding. Those are the measurements. It's not the theory of the polls, it's the actual practice when people turn out for special elections. And you compare against the prior special elections, because that's when the same turnout of sort of, it's all season, do we show up, can be compared. And this plus 10 Democrats at the low end, plus 35 at the, plus 37 in the deep South. Because these groups are saying this is insane. There's like concentration camps being set up nearby us, right? People are seeing this and they're doing something about it, and they're showing up in special elections. So that's what gives me hope, is I watch these roll in every several months as a special election, and the Democrats just wildly overperform one time after another after another. have to know.
Okay, I guess if that's all the questions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Robert, you're gonna be here till the end in case people want to come and talk to you. Okay, wonderful. All right, we're gonna do a few announcements, and then please stay to the end because we have some important information coming your way too about our school districts. Okay. Vote in the special election, exercise your right. You know that we have a dirty fight going on right now to replace Eric Swalwell's seat, and Indivisible National is endorsing Aisha Wahab. So please, if you haven't already, turn out for the vote. Okay, there we go. All right. Tuesday, September 8th, fundraising for Central Valley Matters. And we will have all of this information in the back for you as well. So supporting CA 22, we want to do what we can to get that seat. September meeting is about authoritarianism. And you may remember Professor Fish, he was with us a year ago. And he will be back to speak to us again about how to, what we can learn from other countries who have overcome authoritarianism. And he's a good speaker and will keep you entertained. And as I mentioned, postcards. Please sign up in the back for postcarding. They're for different regions, and mailing will begin September through October. If you have any questions, Helen is back there if you want to ask her anything specifics. Also, rapid response. ICE presence in Livermore. Be prepared with the rapid response training, Saturday, August 29th, 10:30 to 12:30. Let's help our immigrant families and friends. Flyer will also be available in the back. If you want to do some free therapy, LI pop-up protests, street corners, we do freeway overpasses, signs for fascism. This is how you can get your free therapy on. And we have still t-shirts available for a donation of $30, please. We have women's sizes and men's sizes. Cash or donate available. See Terry in the back. Sign up to help with rally logistics. We need volunteers, as always, to support our rally team leaders, and examples of what you can help with: setup, tracking supplies, ensuring booths, speakers, musicians. See Susie or Eileen, flyer in the back table. Susie, raise your hand, she'll be back there. There you go. And you know Eileen, she started our day of games with us. Okay, and as always, check out our website for current events and things you can do to participate. We will also record the meetings and put it on our YouTube channel. Okay, and our final speaker for today, we are here to welcome Joanne with LAPE, who will give us an update on the local school board race, including an overview of the candidates running and what is at stake.
Thank you. I think most of you are familiar with LAPE. We're a community-based organization, but we are also part of the National Indivisible Network. We are an indivisible chapter. And our motto is to educate, advocate, and protect. We educate the community about the needs in the school district. We advocate for progressive policies that provide an inclusive and safe environment for children to learn in school. And we protect against harmful agendas from extremist groups who target the school district. The last time I spoke, we were concerned about the school board race, which is really a very important race. There are 3 positions that are open, and it could result in a complete change of the character of our school board and flip it conservative. And we were concerned at the time that there would be extremists running in all 3 of the trustee areas, and that now has come to pass. That's what we are faced with. So, the most important thing to do is to go to the district website and find out which area you live in, so that you can vote for the candidate that we support. In Area 2, which is Central Livermore, we have Tara Boyce, who is a progressive, running against Stephen Orgain, who is a little strange. We don't know too much about him, except that he's a J6 supporter. In Area 3, we have Angela Brady, who is a progressive and a parent in the district, very capable woman. She's a data analyst. And against her is Deborah Gibson. Deborah Gibson is someone who shows up at every board meeting and starts with a prayer that devolves into an anti-trans screed. In Area 5, which is Southeast Livermore, we have Christian Vanden Heuvel, who is presently an at-large board member and a progressive. We have Dina Kaplanis, who is from the right-wing church that everyone knows about, and has said some terrible things that you'll hear in a minute. And then a newcomer, Sam Phelps. We don't know very much about him at all right now, but we're concerned that he could be a spoiler that would let Dina Kaplanis get elected. So, this is Steve Orgain. He's relatively unknown, but his postings show that he definitely supports the J6 people. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. Glad this kangaroo court is over. Embarrassing. He was talking about the proceedings to get rid of Trump, and he is known to be a J6 supporter. He thinks they should all get the money that Trump is trying to give them. We don't know for sure if he's a member of the Celebration Church, but he could have been recruited by them. And then we have Debbie Gibson. She is linked to Kaplanis and the Celebration Church. As I said, she's been attending every school board meeting. And let me give you a sample of some of what she says.
We have, oh, sorry, the speaker's turned off right now.
Start over.
Yeah.
Oh, I know we unplugged the power too. I'm sorry.
No, you didn't. Oh.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, you did? Okay, hold on a second. Try it again.
Ready?
Yeah. Hold on a second. Mm-mm.
No?
Okay.
Okay, well, we may not be able to hear the audio.
Try this.
By Wayne Hankins. focusing on protecting our female respected or supported patients. The oath you took.
Continue with Debbie Gibson, followed by Lainey Pascal.
Good evening. I had the opportunity to go and take a look at the agenda for tonight and read some of the letters that came in thanking you for passing the resolution calling June Pride Month. Although you probably see this as an affirmation that you are doing what is right, you couldn't be more wrong. Never in the history of mankind has a male become a female or a female become a male. It is scientifically impossible, no matter how they dress up, no matter how hard they want to believe that they can actually change their sex because they think they have been born in the wrong body or having body parts surgically removed or added. You represent the school district, and we expect our children and grandchildren to be taught truth. Truth when it comes to math, history, English, reading, and science. You are fooling yourselves if you think you are on the right side of this argument. You are doing a disservice to the students who need counseling rather than affirming a lie to make them feel safe. If there is a safety issue, then deal with it when it comes up like they did when we were kids. Using their preferred pronouns or encouraging them to be treated with puberty blockers is wrong, and the 4 of you who voted for this will ultimately pay the price along with these kids who trust you. And because I'm a Christ follower and hope that everyone here will make that same decision sooner rather than later, because one day every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, I will close with the following scriptures. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness. You love evil more than good and lying more than speaking what is right. And one who is righteous is a guide to his neighbor, but the way of the wicked leads them astray. Thank you.
And now, our friend and current board member, Dina Kaplanis. And this was related to the Pride resolution.
Trustee Kaplanis.
Before we move to a vote, I just want to make something crystal clear publicly. However people would perceive this, but I do want to say that I don't see any child different. I value all children equally. I love them all equally, or else I wouldn't be in the position I am right now. This resolution, though, promotes an ideology that has already been weaponized against children in our own district. At Granada High School, a student was suspended simply because he referred to a biologically female classmate as someone who used to be a girl. He simply refused to fully endorse the preferred narrative. For that, he was suspended and later denied a transfer to another district. This is part of a larger pattern. We are seeing puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries on minors. Multiple
Hang on one sec. People in the audience, listen. If you've been in public meetings, the only way, if this is our meeting, you guys happen to be here.
I want to explain. This stopped because someone in the audience called out in frustration at what she was saying and interrupted her.
So give the respect to one of the board members. We listen to everyone. I understand. It's not about pointing fingers. We can point fingers all day. And I can see these kind of meetings. Next thing you know, people get angry and just nothing good comes from it. President Drew gave his accolades and I would support it. We do a really good job in this community of listening to diverse opinions. Let's continue it. That's the beauty of this community. That we're able to, these are polar opposite issues. No one is going to convince anyone that they're wrong. Let's just listen and let us vote the way we're gonna vote. We've heard your opinions. Let's just be respectful. That's the beauty of this place. I would think everyone in this room would agree on that. Can I see a show of hands? We're all respectful. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Multiple European countries have banned these procedures. At the same time, biological males are taking spots from girls in sports and private spaces. I will not vote to advance an agenda that pushes children from telling the truth. And I also want to thank everybody that came to speak tonight on both sides.
So that's what we're faced with, and that's what the campaign is about. So we want everyone to support these progressive candidates: Tara Boyce in Area 2, Angela Brady in Area 3, and Christian Vanden Heuvel in Area 5. There will also be an appointment for 2 years, because whether Christian wins or Kaplanis wins, they will be leaving an at-large seat that they're halfway through. And so someone will have to be appointed for the remainder of that at-large term for 2 years. There's going to be a school board candidate forum sometime in September. I don't think the date has been set yet. It's usually sponsored by the Vine and Livermore Indivisible. So here's how you can get involved. Who's running for school board in your area? You can check the interactive map on the school board website and find out where you are. If your area is not up for election, then please help and volunteer in another area, because we're really going to have to get the vote out. Check the LAPE website that you see here and sign up for our newsletter. I have an older copy that you can look at. And please donate to the candidates. We will be asking you to do that. And also, please give a donation if you can to LAPE, because we are indivisible. We also will be participating in the doubling of donations this month. So it would be really helpful if you could do it now. We also need sustaining donors, someone who could give us $5 a month, $10 a month. Because we've been paying for our newsletter and our website and all of our expenses out of our pocket, so it would be really helpful. And if you'd like to volunteer, send us an email at info@la4pe.org, and we'll send you to one of the candidates or something you can do to help our organization. Thank you.
If you have any questions on anything we spoke about today, information in the back, yes.
I just want to ask if you could go back to the previous slide. The 3 candidates we're supporting are organizing now, and they need volunteers for many different things. So volunteering for a candidate, even if they're not in your area. On the right side, it lists the options, the things that they're looking for, and the ongoing things that will be happening for the next 3 months.
All right, everyone. Joanne will be in the back. Robert will be here if you have questions, and postcarding information about doing the volunteer peacekeeping rapid response training, all in the back. And we hope to see you next month. Thank you.